Good morning, friends. I am your assistant teacher, Mr. Anil Kumar Swami. Welcomes you to the Gyan Jyoti online classes. Students, we will study history today. As you know that we are about to complete the section history, and in the last class we studied about the new empires and kingdoms. Now we study about the last chapter in the history section, that is our heritage. Okay, students, chapter number is 12. On this fresh day, fresh morning, we will start again and we will study history. Students, what do you mean by heritage? Do you know? Do you know the meaning of heritage? Do you know the meaning of culture? Customs, traditions, they all are a part of our great civilization, of our lifestyle which we are living now. Ancient India provided a primary material to constitute country's heritage. During ancient times, the country made appreciable progress in the area of culture. The traditions and culture that developed in India and exist since long times constitute to heritage. Students, heritage means, culture, first of all, I will make you understand the word culture. Culture means the things which we have gained from our ancestors. The culture, the traditions which we possess, the dressing style, the eating style, the living style, and whatever it may be. That constitutes culture, and the culture and traditions again constitute, that is called the heritage of our country or of ourselves. Then students, the first subtopic in this chapter is literature. Students, what do you mean by literature? It is related to reading and writing. Much of the sacred Hindu literature, students, we know that in history there are two types of major sources to know about our past, to know about our history. So that is, the first one is the archaeological source, and the second one is the literary source. Okay, students, then what is archaeological source, you know, but we are talking here about literature, the literary sources. Let us talk about, means the inscriptions, the manuscripts, the books, the sacred books, holy books written by different religious people or any writers. Much of the sacred Hindu literature was composed of recorded in written form during ancient times. The Vedas, Puranas, Ramayana. Okay, students, you know, the Vedas, Puranas, then the next students, the Vedas, the Puranas, and the epic book like Ramayana, Mahabharata. So these are some of the sacred literature which our country has. The Ramayana and Mahabharata, students, especially, are great epics in Sanskrit. After their composition, they continued to be orally recited for a long time until they were written down about 1500 years ago. Friends, it is an ancient literature. It was written many years ago. They were the greatest epics in our Indian history. The Ramayana is a story of Prince Rama. We all know that the story of Ramayana, it is a story of Prince Rama, who had all the qualities of an ideal person. Students, therefore, just listen. Lord Rama is known as Maryada Purushottama. It means he is the most ideal person. He was exiled from his kingdom. Means he went to Banvas. In Hindi, it is exile means, the word means Banvas. And with his wife and his brother Lakshmana, Ram, Lakshmana, Sita, you know that in every temple you can see that these three people, these three gods, they are worshipped together. His wife Sita was abducted from the forest by Ravana. Then he returned to Ayodhya only after killing Ravana and getting Sita back from Sri Lanka. So this is a long story. You may have seen in the television the Ramayana serial. The Sanskrit Ramayana is said to have been written by Ved Valmiki. It's very popular. Then Ram Leela, the dramatization of Ram's life at this stage or at a theatre or somewhere else, is performed on stage every year till now also, today also you can see, and which starts 10 days before the Dasara, that is called the Navratri. The Ram Leela also starts there. Students, the next students after Ramayana, the next is Mahabharata. What is the story of Mahabharata? You may have also known the story of Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is the story of the Kauravas and the Pandavas, said to be the cousins. They were cousin brothers. Okay, brothers from different. They were same different mothers, but they belonged to the same family. Who fought a war of succession. Hastinapur in present day Uttar Pradesh is believed to be the region where it is supposed to have occurred. Like the Ramayana, the Mahabharata too was written down only about 150,500 years, means 1500 years ago. Next, students, though it was known to the people very much before that, a famous sage or the saint Vedvyas is credited, who has been the compilation of the Mahabharata. The Bhagavad Gita is a part of the Mahabharata, and like the Ramayana, the Gita is sacred to the Hindus. The Purana means old. You know, Purana means old, but here it is known as the religious stories or religious texts. Are also religious stories that were written down around the same period. They contain stories about Hindu gods and goddesses like Vishnu, Shiva, Parvati, Durga, and how they should be worshipped. The Vedas were meant for the upper caste only. The Vedas, students, were meant for the upper caste people. But the Puranas, which were written in simple Sanskrit, could be heard even by the Sudras and the women. Besides religious literature, many other stories were composed in the ancient times. The Jatakas and the Panchatantra. Students, Jatakas are stories, and Panchatantra is also old stories compiled in a group of stories were written down around this time. The Jataka tales and the Panchatantra tales were simple stories written by ordinary people, ordinary writers. They are stories with a moral. The Jataka tales can be found depicted in cave paintings in Ajanta caves and in sculptures on the railings of stupas. Stories from the Panchatantra are popular even today. There are stories where animal characters speak like human beings. Students, in Panchatantra, you have seen the serial that Mowgli. So in that in television, when you see that animals were talking with each other, in Panchatantra also the animals were talking like human beings. A Panchatantra story, there's a story, it is a story about animals staying in forest, but they were talking like human beings. Students, so this was the literature topic. The next, students, Tamil literature. How Tamil is, student, just remember, Tamil is one of the oldest language in our country. Some other best known epics were written during the period. So, what were they, students? In the Tamil literature, Ilango, a poet, composed a famous Tamil epic, and that was, students, what was the name? Silla Padikaram. So, that's the name, students, Silla Padikaram. Okay, students, around 1800 years ago, just look, 1800 years, this is a long time. The Silla Padikaram is a famous epic of Tamil literature. The story is located in the region covered by the Chola, Chera and the Pandya kingdoms. It is in the poetic form and narrates various details of Tamil culture, dance and music, the towns and cities, and the mingling of the Greek, Arabs and Tamil people. Around, students, 400 years later, Satyanar, there is a Tamil poet named, he composed another Tamil epic that is called the Manimikkala. So, this is another epic in Tamil, that is Manimikkala. Okay. This is second epic. Then third one is the Sangam literature. We have studied, students, already in the previous chapter. The Sangam literature was composed around the same time. You have already read about other written stories such as the Kalidasa, who wrote in Sanskrit and made immense contribution to literature. Then students, next is the next subtopic is the mathematics and science. So apart from this, we'll study about that how mathematics, the subject of mathematics and science, changed our heritage and how different scientists learned from it. Aryabhatta was a mathematician and astronomer. Students, you know Aryabhatta? Aryabhatta was an astronomer. He was a mathematician and a astronomer also. So he wrote the Aryabhattiyam. So there's a book called Aryabhattiyam. It tests par excellence on astronomy. It is the study of astronomy. So you will have to read the book that is called the Aryabhattiyam. He discovered that day and night were caused by the rotation of the earth. Friends, you know that when the earth revolves around the sun, it causes different seasons. A year in complete. But when the earth rotates on its own axis, then it causes days and night. Then students, like Aryabhatta, Varahamihira was a famous astronomer. Students, Varahamihira was a famous astronomer who declared that the earth is spherical. Students, who declared that the earth is spherical means like a football. Okay, the earth is not flat. Previously the people believed that the earth was flat, but it was spherical. It is spherical, students, sorry. Aryabhatta provided a scientific explanation for eclipses also. He evolved a way of calculating the circumference of a circle. This is almost as accurate as the formula mathematicians use today. The Indian mathematicians invented a special symbol for zero. The Arabs adopted the Indian system of counting. The Europeans learned it from Arabs. Now the whole world uses it. That is called the zero. The word zero. So the number zero. Now the whole world uses it. The Indian mathematician also developed the decimal system. Students, you must be pleased to know that how our Indian mathematicians, astronomers were so developed. So though they were so brilliant that they invented the number zero and the decimal system also. Students, the next here topic is metallurgy. We will study the next subtopic here is metallurgy. Students, the next subtopic here is metallurgy. Students, what is the meaning of metallurgy? Students, metallurgy is a process by which different metals are being extracted from their alloys. Okay, students, that is a process. That is you may be thinking that this is a modern process, but no, not like that. It is a old process. The people staying in the ancient times or the medieval times, they were also doing that, and by that they made different constructions. Students, next is that there is an iron pillar near Qutub Minar in Mehrauli, Delhi, I have told you, which is 7.2 meters high and weighs about 3 tons. Students, 3 tons, just imagine. It was made about 1500 years ago. Just imagine, 1500 years ago, 15 centuries, around the time of the Guptas period, Guptas ruling in the north, Gupta dynasty. The pillar is a remarkable example of metallurgical skill and skill of Indian crafts persons. It is not rusted, just think, jung khana, the students, what we say, if iron is kept outside your home or anywhere, when continuously water and sun rays fall on that, what will happen? It will get rust, but it has not rusted since now. Just imagine from how it has been, from which metal it has been made. Then it shows that the Indian scientists had an advanced knowledge of chemistry and knew about the mixing of metals in the right proportion. So this shows that the metallurgy and knowledge of metallurgy was very much known to the Indian scientists or Indian people, the scientists at that time. Of that time, students, there is a small box. In a small box, there is a small fact given that I will tell you that from the Atharva Veda we find out the methods people used to diagnose disease and prescribe medicines to treat them. Students, we know that doctors were not present at that time. The treatment was done by Vedic methods. Susruta, an Ayurvedic scholar, is said to be an expert in performing operations. Operations, students. Charaka wrote the Charaka Samhita, which also speaks of different diseases and their cure. Students, Susruta, Charaka, Dhanvantari, they were very ancient Ayurvedic scholars. Then students, the next subtopic here is buildings in brick and stone. India has a rich architectural heritage. We all know that, students. The ancient buildings furnish proof of the skills of the craftspersons. The stupas, literally a mound, it is called a mound, symbolize presence of the Buddha and are sacred to the Buddhists. The stupas may be of different kinds, but all stupas have certain common features. Usually, every stupa has a small box or a relic, casket containing the relics of the Buddha or his followers, which is placed at the center. Okay, students, this is the relics. So, what do you mean by relics? Relics means, students, let me tell you that relics may be in the form of bodily remains like hair, teeth, personal belongings like a begging bowl. So, that is called the relics. The relic box or casket was covered with earth. Later, a layer made of mud brick or baked brick came to be added on top. A dome-like structure was then built over it, and then the structure was sometimes covered with carved stone slabs. Often, a path was laid around the stupa. It was called the Pradakshina Patha. Pradakshina Patha. The railing surrounded the path. Railing means, students, means especially in if you are going upstairs, the nowadays steel railings made of concrete are being made just to save you from falling. So that are called the railings. Boundary, you can say. Entrance gateways to the path were provided. The devotees used the path to go to the stupa. The railings and gateways were also known as the torrents, were decorated with fine sculptures. Often stories from Jataka tales were carved on the torrents. The great stupa at Sanchi exemplifies an ideal stupa. Students, the Sanchi stupa located in Madhya Pradesh, present in Madhya Pradesh, it exemplifies the ideal stupa. So it is made like a tomb, okay, and that is called the stupa. The Torana is there, it is built magnificently, and the Buddhist culture or architecture can be seen here. Then, students, the rock cut structures. We have studied that rock cut temples are there. So the rock cut temples or the structures were made by carving the stones. These structures were hollowed out of rocks and made like artificial caves. Students, from rocks they were cutting down and artificial caves. Caves means, students, gufa that were being made. Some such caves were decorated with sculpture and painted walls. Ajanta cave. So the best example is the, students, Ajanta cave. Is such an example or as a place with several caves. Most of the caves were actually monasteries for Buddhist monks. Some of the caves were decorated with paintings. Students, if you visit Ajanta and Ellora caves, situated in Aurangabad district of present-day Maharashtra. You will see that it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is magnificently built. You will just feel pleasure. Hindu temples started coming up around this time. Gradually, Hindu temples came around that time. Then the earliest temples were quite simple, having only one room. Students, that is called Garbhagriha. Garbhagriha, there is a small room where the deity or the idol was kept to house the image of the deity that I have told you. Gradually the temples became larger and larger and also became lavish. Lavish means, students, very prosperous, very costlier, very big, very huge. They also began to be decorated with sculpture. The top of the temple called the Sikhara. Students, the top of the temple was known as a Sikhara. Had fine sculptures carved on it. The entrance to the temple was called the Gopuram. The entrance was called the Gopuram. The top of the temple was known as the Sikhara. Okay, sure. Then, most temples had a mandapa. Mandapa means, students, where the rituals were done, which was an assembly hall. Many temples with such decorations came up in South India. Students, then next is some places we'll study, that is called the Mahabalipuram, situated in present day Tamil Nadu, and Aihole house some fine stone temples. Each of the monolithic temple at Mahabalipuram. Students, you know monolithics, we have already studied about monolithic, Neolithic, Paleolithic age, carved out of a huge single piece of stone. Students, some temples are carved out from single stone. That is the magnificent wonder which we have experienced in our Indian history. Monolithic temples of Mamallapuram and the Kailasnath temple at Ellora signify India's achievement in the art of carving out monolithic structures. Okay, students, so these are some of the examples, like the Mamallapuram and the Kailasnath temple at Ellora signify India's achievement in the art of carving out monolithic structures. Then, students, we will move to, so the ruling kings, students, and their queens built big temples, so to show their wealth, their prosperity. Then, students, rich merchants also donated money, mainly for their upkeep. Nearly every village came to have a temple. Students, they all were, especially the Hindu people at that time, then they, for worship, they made a temple. It may be small, it may be large. A village could be identified from the distance by its Sikhara. So, if there is a temple, there is a Sikhara, then you can identify that there is a village or a small town. The temple functioned as a school also, because religious teachers like the Brahmins, they were teaching the people also. The priest played the role of teachers, that I have told you, the Brahmins. The Ajanta caves present a fine example of wall paintings, that I have told you, students. The Ajanta and Ellora caves are the one of the most wonderful structures in our Indian history. It is also included in the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The caves are Buddhist. They are Buddhist caves. They are decorated with paintings on walls and ceiling. They also have some sculptures. These caves are hollowed out rocks. Some of the paintings in the caves are well preserved. The colors look fresh even after 1500 years. Sorry, students, 1500 years. The fresh colors are so fresh, so livable, that they still look that they are made few days ago. The work on the Ellora caves started around the time Ajanta fell out of use. There are Hindu, Buddhist and Jain caves at Ellora with sculptures in all of them. Students, the Ajanta and Ellora caves, they have sculptures relating to Hindu, Buddhist and Jain caves. The Kailasnath temple at Ellora is the world's largest monolithic structure and is one of the wonders of the world. Students, the Kailasnath temple at Ellora is the world's largest monolithic structure and is one of the wonders of the world. Students, Mamallapuram was the seaport under the Pallavas who ruled from Kanchipuram. Mamallapuram is the seaport Then there are several monolithic temples here. The Ratha temples are world famous. Students, some temples are there that is called the Ratha temples that are world famous. Then students, the famous Shore temple stands on the seashore and is dedicated to both Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva. So there is a temple, students, where it is dedicated to Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva also. That is called the Shore temple. The temples at Mamallapuram are cut out of large blocks. Students, as I have told you that most of the temples are cut out from a single large blocks and it has been carved out by magnificent architecture. Architecturally, these temples enjoy a significant position in the evolution of South Indian temple architecture. These present nice pieces of sculptural expertise. Students, next is the last part we came here. The last part is, students, usually temples and stupas were built by rulers. Definitely, students, the kings, they were making the rulers. Merchants also donated large sums of money to build temples. It is also to the different traders. Merchants also made the temples. Then we will move to in other parts of the world. That's when there is the last subtopic here. Okay, that is paper. We will study about this paper. This topic is given about the paper. That paper is very important for us. It was invented in China about 1900 years ago. The technique of making. Students, in the last part of your book, small topic has been given about paper. Students, so you know the paper which we use today, from where it was invented, how it was invented. Now, students, nowadays paper is being made from pulp, wood pulp. Okay, students, you know that. But nowadays we know. But before the ancient period, before the medieval period, so how it was made, how it came to India. Students, we know that paper is very important for us. It was invented in China about 1900 years ago. Just look, it was invented in China 1900 years ago. Then, students, the technique of making paper was similar to making paper by hand. So, which may be seen even today. Even today also, we can see that technique in China. The paper making technology remained a closely guarded secret to the Chinese people for a long time. Then it became known to the rest of the world when the Arabs captured. Students, when the Arabs people, the rulers, captured Samarkand from the Chinese in the 8th century AD. Okay, students, when the Arab people captured Samarkand from Chinese people in the 8th century AD. The Arabs carried the secret back with them. The Arabs carried the secret how the paper was being made from them, and to Western Europe learned it from the Arabs. So this was the process. The Chinese knew the invention, then the Arabs conquered a place called Samarkand, and then they took the secret and they went to their homes, on their places, their countries, and from them Western Europe learned it from Arabs. Students, there is a small story given about Panchatantra that I will tell you that why Panchatantra is so famous. So let me tell you the story. This is a small story. It is maybe very interesting for you. It is given in your book. Students, a crow lived on a large banyan tree. Crow means kawa, banyan means bargad ka ped. And one day he saw a hunter approaching the tree with arms. Arms means, students, what do you mean by arms? It may be a gun or something like that. The crow warned all the birds on the tree to be careful and not to eat the seeds the hunter spread in order to trap them. Students, just look. The hunter made a trap by spreading the seeds. And when the crow or other birds go there to eat it, so they will or he will trap it. So this was the trap of the hunter. Okay, students, this is a small story which I am reciting now. So, in the meantime, what happened? A flock of doves flying past saw the seeds. Doves means, students, Safed Kabutar, you know. And flying past the area, they saw the seeds and came down to eat them and got trapped. Students, just look. The crow warned all his friends that not to eat this seed, but when the dove's seed saw that there's the seeds fall on the ground, they went there and they were trapped. Then, students, what happened? The king of the doves told the doves to keep their cool, to remain cool, and together with all their might tried to fly away from the net. So there were many birds, there were many doves at a time, the flock of birds, they were in a group. So once they were fallen in a trap, so the king, the head of the group, they told that we have to fly high to take the net from one place to another. And what happened? The doves, in spite of the danger ahead, applied all the force they could, started flying together all with the net. Okay, students, so what did they listened to their head, the chief, and they flew with the net. Then, students, what happened? The king of doves directed them to his friend, a rat. This is a story, students, you must have studied in your earlier classes. There was a rat, one of his friends. He requested the rat to bite the net with his teeth and free the doves. So the rat came. What happened? The crow, who saw all the whole drama, thought to himself, we can tide over any crisis, but if we are united, we must not get scared. So the doves, the chief, they called the rat came and bite all the net from all the sides, and the doves were all free. So from that, the crows, they learn from this whole drama that we may be different, but if we are united, we must not get scared from any danger. So students, this was one of the story, a Panchatantra story, and from this we know that united we fall, united we are strong, divided we fall. So students, this was the topic all about our heritage. I hope you would have understood the video. Please watch the video, and I have always repeated one thing, that while you are watching the video, please refer to the textbooks, then only you can understand. So students, by saying this, I may say goodbye to all of you. Thank you, students. Have a nice day. Stay home.